Hi, this is David Odell with OdellCompleteConcrete. I came in here and this dirt was already pretty much graded down. Someone else had started this job previously, and for whatever reason they couldn't finish it, so I came in and I'm going to button it up basically. So we got some stamp color concrete around the area already. And what we're going to try to do is match it. We're pretty sure we know what color was used there, so we're going to go with that, with the homeowner selected. And it's basically a Davis integral, and it was, I believe, a San Diego buff. That was for the field area of the concrete. There's some bands that were darker. I forget what color that was, but it's also a Davis color. We're not doing any of the dark bands. We're just going to do one field color on this. So we're going to mix it in with the concrete. There was a little bit of dirt to take out of here. Not a lot. We're going to leave about a 1 foot gravel bed around the bottom of that fountain. So a lot of times what happens when you have a fountain that's near, especially color concrete, dark color concrete, that water that blows around when it's windy or just the splattering of the water, it has a lot of mineral deposits, hard water deposits, and that really shows up a lot on dark or color concrete. So if you put the gravel around about a good 1 foot border of gravel around that fountain, most of your overspray from that fountain running is going to hit the gravel and hopefully not land on the concrete and just make a mess of it. Well, here's the side gate here. This is the elevation we're going to match. So right now all I'm doing is I'm checking how much slope we have from the furthest point across this job site to see how many inches of slope we have, see what I'm dealing with here, and whether or not these drains are going to be real useful or not. All the water, because this is a kind of semi-sunken patio area because they have this raised entry here, the water can't get out through the wall or anywhere else. It has to go in the drains, so crucial that we make these drains the low point. We can slope the water into that gravel bed around the fountain, but that's going to only hold so much water, and what happens is when that maxes out, the water's going to come out of that area, then it's got to find a drain. And that can happen pretty quickly in a small area. Now we just pull a string line all the way across. We have to be below this light cover plate, so it's still removable, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make kind of a severe drop off compared to everything else right out of this initial gate, because they've got this one raised planter wall over here to my left that is pretty low. You can see it over there in the corner. We had to have the concrete below that precast concrete cap that's been stained and sealed. We got to get the concrete below that or it's going to look funky if I pour up against that bullnose cap on that raised seat wall. Well, it's not really that raised at this point, but it's there, so we've got to kind of deal with that. So this is my main drain where I think basically 90% of the water is going to get to. Well, this drain system they put in ahead of time. It's by somebody else. And I believe it goes out through the curb, face into the gutter on the street. So what we did here is we just measure out a foot all the way around this fountain, and we drive a stake. Once all those stakes in, we just wrap some bendable boards around it, and now we have a nice little radius. I use this landscaping material. It's kind of a composite plastic, and I reuse it quite a bit. They have some other material, the grain board, which is a lot thinner than this, and you need a lot more stakes to hold a nice radius, especially when the concrete hits it. It kind of starts moving around. This stuff here, you don't need that many stakes, and it holds up pretty good against the weight of the concrete. My concrete colors are going to be pretty close to these stucco walls. It's real similar. And they've got a smooth stucco finish on that. Integral stucco color. Which means no painting. So we're going to put the fire mesh in like normal. We're going to put rebar at 2 foot on centers. Kind of my standard procedure. And on this one I'm going to go 2500 PSI. Because the higher the PSI you go, that means the more color you're going to be throwing in. And a lot of color may not be that great for concrete quality. I had some extra rebars, a couple extras. I just threw them in there. So we have 2 drains in this whole area. I'm going to try to pick up some of the runoff on that upper drain, but most of the water will run right by that and hit this lower one. Now I'm just giving it one last wetting before we start pouring the concrete in. Here we have Big Al's concrete pumping out of Norco. We're using Bender concrete. We got a plant in Santa Ana and Santa Fe Springs. This is going to be a little stamped texture. They used some old granite on the previous stamp work here, but I don't have the old granites. I got the Belgium, so I'm gonna go with the Belgium. It's real similar. The only difference between the Belgium and the old granite is the old granite has one deep vein in it, which is the Belgium's lacking that one deep vein in the mat. I think we had 7.5 yards going in here. So after you get it rotted out and you like the way it looks, then it's time to bull float. Now some of these hard contours around your drains and stuff like that, those 3 foot, 4 foot bowl floats aren't going to fit in there very well without disturbing the slope. So I like to use the small funny float off of a pole. That way you can work the contours of the grade a lot better. We're going to wet cut these joints in. And I want to run one all the way down the middle here, off of the front corner of this porch. And then I'll run a couple more, one off the planter, and then one also off of the fountain. And then around the fountain, we'll just run them about every 4 feet, because it's kind of a narrow walkway going around that fountain, so we break that up a little bit more. So there's the one joint that's going straight with the house. We've got a dry line snapped into the wet concrete, and that gives us a guide to run our cutter blade, which goes 2.5 inches deep. Then we'll follow that up with a 3/4 deep 1/2 inch radius for a final tune-up. But basically, once you hit the concrete with a 2.5 inch cutter and you've broken all that aggregate apart with that cutter that deep, what's going to happen is it's going to crack there whether you can see the joint or not. Because if you push cream back in there, the aggregate's still broken, and it's still going to crack in a straight line, although it'll be more visible, of course. Now you can see that back retaining wall. I just barely got underneath that cap. So that was kind of a fixed point. I had to go below that, and then we had to match underneath the light cover at the other end. Now that we have the joints in, we're just running a funny trowel over it. It's not necessary to run the funny trowel, but it just makes your final pass on your boards just a little bit easier. So Sam got his new sliders, and he's breaking them in on this one, his first outing. He's running along the side of the house. He went with the metal sliders. Most people have the metal sliders. I carry the fibers for me. They're just a little bit bigger and not as slick, so you don't, when you get on grades, you don't move around so much. So you can see the joints around the backside of that fountain. They're a little bit closer together. We're not going to use a secondary color on this concrete. We're just doing one color stamp, which means we're going to use a liquid release. It's not a color liquid release, it's just a clear. The stuff I use, It smells like bubble gum. Here it is. Matecrete makes it. It's a liquid release. When you spray it down, it has that bubble gum smell to it. And that's what stops your mats from sticking to the concrete when you pick them up and move them. You can also use mineral spirits, which is a lot less money than this stuff. The problem with mineral spirits is if you have to do a touch-up, like a trowel, if you have to re-trowel something after you got the mineral spirits on there, it seems to have a problem with the color. It affects the color a little bit. So if you're going to use mineral spirits, try not to re-trowel it after you spray it. And they have some liquid sprays just like this one, but it'll have a tint to it, so you can use a liquid secondary color release by adding some pigment to this this clear, and then you have a two-toner. Or you can always come back with a water-based stain and put it on there, and you can still two-tone this thing out. I didn't hang any plastic on the walls or anything. I just poured it out. This concrete's going to dry about the color of those walls anyway. Is what's going to happen once this cures out. It's going to get a lot lighter than this. Well, that's what the finished product looks like the day out of the pour. You can kind of see the sheen of that release here and there where it hasn't totally evaporated. Anyway, thank you for watching my videos. If you like these videos, subscribe and stay tuned for the new latest and greatest videos from Odell. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.